three things I want to talk about today. Look, listen, and love. You know, nearly every religion of the world has this concept of being created in the image of the divine. That all of us, no matter who we are sacred beings simply because we are. We are created that way, and there is nothing we can do to earn that sacredness, and there is nothing we can do to forfeit it. It is always a part of who we are. Christianity talks about being made in the image of God. Buddhism talks about the Buddha nature. Hinduism speaks of the Brahman, the ultimate of which we are all a part. All the great world's religions have this idea that human beings are sacred simply because we are. In a world that sorts and divides us based on so many things, how we look, who we love, how much money we have, the jobs we do, how we speak, in a world that seems to want to separate us from each other, that concept of being made in the image of God is so vitally important to us today. But we've got to look for that image. We've got to look at the other person across from us who seems so different and remember that we are all created in that divine image. We must imagine what it is like to be in that person's shoes, how it must feel to be who they are. We must imagine what it is like to be the other who is just as sacred as ourselves. But you know, in order to do that, we've got to learn to listen to people. Got to learn to listen to others, because in this world what I've found is that very often what we do is we listen to argue. We listen to dispute. We listen to win rather than listening to understand. But if we truly believe in that concept that we are all sacred beings, then it must also be true that we all have something to offer to one another if we can just listen to each other. So much in the world today is divided. So many arguments, so many divisions. How often do we stop and just listen to the other person? Too often what we do instead is we are listening to find the flaw in what they're saying. We're listening to try to defeat them, and we spend so much time thinking of how we're going to argue with them next, thinking of what our next statement to refute theirs is going to be. We don't even hear what they're saying to us. And by the time we open our mouths, what comes out is an argument, is anger, is the desire to defeat, the desire to win, rather than the desire to know, to care. And so, along with looking for that image of God, the image of the divine in every person, we must also look and listen to understand who they are. Listen to understand. In Buddhism, the lotus flower, what we call the water lily, is a sacred symbol of what it means to be a human being, a symbol of the Buddha nature, of the divine image within each of us, that no matter how broken we may seem, no matter how much muck and dirt we've got to rise up through, that within each of us there is this sacred core that can never be taken away, that there is this sacred beauty that is within each of us, that is a part of us, that is always there waiting to emerge, that we just have to look for, we just have to listen for in order to see it, in order to know it. And that is where the love comes in. Because when you know that deep within each of us is that kind of beauty and wonder and miracle that can rise up and show us such beauty and such wonder despite the difficulties and the fear and the hatred and the division that is in the world, our only true response to that reality, to that truth, has got to be love. When Jesus talked of this very same concept, He said, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Now, sometimes people focus on the neighbor part in that statement, but I think what Jesus wanted us to do was focus on the self. That within each of us is that divine nature. Within each of us is that beautiful flower waiting to emerge, and we must love ourselves first before we can ever love others as we need to. That despite our brokenness, despite however fearful we may be, no matter how many mistakes we may make, no matter how many regrets we may have, we are worthy of love. We are worthy of love for ourselves, and we are worthy enough to love others. Look, listen, and love. Look for that divine image in all people, for that sacred beauty in every person. Listen to try to understand who that other person is, where they've been, what they've been through, and love. Love that sacred beauty in yourself. Love that sacred beauty in others. Love that sacred beauty in the world around us. And if we can do these things, if we can look, listen, and love, no matter how many fears we must face, no matter how many challenges we must overcome, we will come out on the other side better and stronger and nobler than we ever were before. Look, listen, and